think twice about that salad bar, doesn't
Yes.
it? When they charge you by the pound.
That's right. So you have to be extremely careful. In fact, I was at a restaurant the other day. The guy says that he has a carry-out for Indian food, and he charges it per pound.
A lot of places do that.
$6.95 per pound.
But you know, it's amazing. I have worked with coworkers, and they have it down to a science. When they go to that salad bar and they know they have to be within that weight restriction, they have a certain order in which they put foods and fruits and vegetables in. And I get it now, because obviously you're paying so much more for those smaller quantities.
That's right. But I thought Food Magazine wanted to let you know that you need to shop. You need to shop intelligently. You need to save money.
Well, folks, no doubt by now you've heard of Wikipedia. And you know, it's a great encyclopedia of sorts online. The best part is it's put together by people and their knowledge. So it's not like you're buying a book of set ideas. It's constantly changing. Well, there is a new Wikipedia-like site. It's called, folks, Samosapedia. It's the best bloody diaspora Desi dictionary in the world, according to its founders. By the way, 4 guys launched Desi humor site Samosapedia barely a month ago, so it's not very old. But what is it trying to do? It's trying to collect terminology that celebrates the absurdities and idiosyncrasies of global Desi culture and language. So, you know, the slang that we all use. Not everyone will understand where that slang comes from. You can't find it in a dictionary. Well, you can find it on Samosapedia. So on Samosapedia, you'll find definitions for things like ghati. You know, when we say people are ghati, what it means is people are just generally uncultured, uncouth. But what about this one? Behenji turned mod, right? Behenji turned mod would be a description for, you know, a girl who comes across as girl next door, then all of a sudden goes modern one day, right? It's a phenomenon for many of these girls that get married to these boys living here. They come from India and they come over very classically packaged, then within a month or two, they've changed, their colors come out. Or, you know, you might find other ones in here like Jhakas, Bindas, and Doordarshan. Basically, these are all words that are in our lingo, but we don't have exact definitions for them. And this is part of a growing set of dictionaries online that are starting to emerge that combine English with the other native language. For example, Spanglish. You remember there was a movie called Spanglish a few years ago. Well, there's also Chinglish, and there's also Hingish, which is Hinglish is basically Hindi and English mixed together, which is what Samosapedia is trying to go after. I just thought this was fun. It might be a site you might want to go check out. Again, it's samosapedia.com.
And, you know, so many of the Indian movies nowadays come in, the titles are half in English, half in Hindi.
Well, it makes sense because so much of us in the Indian diaspora, even when we're speaking to each other, we don't just use pure Hindi. We've always got words interlaced in there that are English. Right. And what's funnier to me even still is that we Indianize certain English words. You know, so, for example, you know, if I'm talking to my mom on the phone or something, she'll ask me what I'm doing. If I'm cooking, I'll say something like, oh, I'm chocoing my dal. And she knows what I mean, is I'm adding a chalk to my dal, but obviously I've just made that an English phrase. We do that a lot with each other. And I think it's just starting to show when we live globally across in many of these cultures and in these different countries, you're bound to pick up the local language and infuse it with your native one.
That means you have melted within the community. I mean, that's what it means. If you're comfortable in both languages. There's a new trend in drinking. By the way, folks, drinking is not good for you. But the new trend is, you know, pickle juice? It's a brine, actually. It's very salty. Yeah, I take a pickle and I wash it before I eat it. I love the pickle, but I don't like all the brine. But brine is in the vogue now. Up in New York City, folks, what they're doing, they take a shot of whiskey and then they chase it with a brine. It doesn't feel good, but I want to tell you, it's good for you. They're saying that it is better than some of the sports drinks that are out there, supposed to put the salt back in your body, because after you had a workout or something, you know, salts leave your body, you got to drink something. It's better than water if you want to put salts back in your body.
Well, at least it's not artificial the way that a lot of these sports drinks can be very artificial. But, you know, pickle juice is often used in alcoholic drinks. You know, certain drinks will use a little bit of pickle juice to give, you know, your martinis or your certain drinks.
Gin tonic's a little better.
A little bit of extra oomph. But I never thought of it as a chaser. It just, I mean, you'd walk away with some terrible breath afterwards. Folks, long before India was known for outsourcing and its Bollywood-style item numbers, India was the land of snake charmers.
Yes.
And so all those old iconic images of India always featured snake charmers. But the reality is, in the new modern India, snake charmers are losing their sway.
So is the beer dancers, you know, and so is the monkey dancing and all the others.
All of these traditional folk arts, you know, because these are very folk and rural type arts, entertainment, they're starting to die out. And of course that's because of modernization and not having an audience for these anymore. But there's actually a couple of other reasons as well. Animal activists in India are actually starting to put some political clout on this matter. Why? Because these snake charmers either end up defanging the snakes, which once they're released in the wild, they can't survive without those fangs, or two, they often will sew the mouth shut of the snake.
Part of their mouth shut.
So that the snake can't eat, and so consequently, you know, can only live for so long, and consequently they die. So snake charmers, it's really hard to find one now in India because the government is cracking down. You know, I didn't know this. In 1972, there was actually a law passed in India to forbid anyone from keeping a snake, but no one really enforced it, right? It was just part of the culture. But now, with the new animal activists and modernization in India, Indian snake charmers, it's hard to find one now.
And you know, here in America, pythons, many people have pets as pythons.
And they're releasing them into the wild in Florida. It's become a real problem.
That's right. But you know, I completely agree with PETA, Animal Rights Group, that this thing should really stop.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
they do mistreat them. But they're also a meal ticket, you know.
I know. When you have to survive, you'll find any which way. I would like to find a snake charmer in India who actually does this with the real snake, right? Without the defanging and the closing of the mouth. Then I'd be impressed.
And then you'll be scared to stay there, you know. And on that note, folks, that's about all we have for you. We sincerely hope you have a wonderful weekend. Namaste.
Namaste.